this by any recourse to a celestial dictatorship. They don't have to grovel to a Kim Il-sung in the sky who won't go away. They can be moral without that, in other words. My submission is very simple. Don't make a mystery where none exists. We can be moral without the supernatural. You say we can't be moral without the supernatural. That makes us slaves.
You're using the word moral to simply speak of behavior set A. So there are innate, mothers caring for their young and instinct, herd instinct and that sort of thing. You're describing behavior set A. But we also have innate impulses that make us want to go to war with rival tribes, take people out who annoy us. That's behavior set B. Now,
also in the image of God, presumably.
You've got to answer this question. Behavior set A and behavior set B. Morality is that which decides between those two behavior sets. Now, you can't say that's innate, because the innate nature of human beings is what gives us the problem. Innate human nature gives us altruistic behavior. Innate human behavior gives us genocidal behavior. It gives us both. Now, you can't appeal to some innate thing that will tell us that this one's moral and that one's not.
No. But there's nothing in human behavior that would surprise you if you thought of humans as a primate species who were half a chromosome away from being chimpanzees, with war, rape, various kinds of stupidity, cruelty, waste, and so forth.
But why do you call one of them moral?
You say these primates are made in the image of God, whichever it is they do. Now, here's my question. Well, here are two of them. The one I was going to ask you. If you say to me, my materialism gives me no reason to care about anybody, why does your belief that ultimate justice will be delivered by heaven make you care about slavery or the emancipation of the luckless Fraulein Frazel from her dungeon? It will be taken care of. There is in the end no tear that won't be dried. Why would you care about the suffering of humanity in that case? It's just as immoral a proposition if you examine it. The way I've put it, ladies and gentlemen, and I feel you've been very generous in letting me speak, so I want to wrap with this, and for now, leave you with these questions. Name me, if you can, a moral action I couldn't take, or a moral statement I couldn't make, because I don't believe in the supernatural. I don't believe in God. You have to be able to do that, it seems to me, to body forth the claim that ethics and morals are founded in religion. And then there's a corollary question. Can any of you think of a wicked action undertaken, or a wicked thing said by someone because they were a person of faith? I think you've already thought of one. The female genital mutilation community, for example, is more or less exclusively religious. Actually, the whole genital mutilation community is religious. The suicide bombing community, almost entirely faith-based. You know where I'm going with this. But you can't, I dare you, no one yet from the Archbishop of Canterbury on down in any debate, if there is any further down from the Archbishop of Canterbury, has ever been able to point out to me a moral action I'm forbidden, is stopped from making, or a statement I can't come up with because I don't believe.
Yeah,
you can, and there's a prize, by the way, attached.
I've heard you assert this before, and it surprises me because I think it's trivially easy to name actions that on a Christian worldview view are morally obligatory, but on your view are not morally obligatory. Is that what you're asking for?
No, it wasn't the question.
Okay.
I mean, a Christian is morally obliged to what?
Tithe.
Yeah, that would be an example.
Pastor. He's a pastor.
But I don't think it's moral to give money to a church.
All right, so there is a moral duty that, given Christian theism, one can name that you as an atheist could not name in your worldview.
No, it doesn't meet the conditions at all. I don't think giving money to an organization that promotes belief in the supernatural is a moral action.
Exactly, but we do. On Christian theism, this is a morally
Christianity is a
act.
tautology in that way. Once you accept that a human sacrifice 2,000 years ago solves all problems and leads to salvation, everything else does follow.
Well,
I have no doubt of it.
You see, I don't understand your challenge then. The challenge, I thought, was to name an action which you as an atheist could not regard or could not also affirm as a moral obligation. And as I say, it seems it's trivially easy to think of lots of actions, if Christian theism is true, that are morally obligatory that you as an atheist could not affirm, because on your worldview they wouldn't be moral obligations. Tithing, evangelism, worship.
Yeah, let's avoid the tautology that lurks here. Someone wrote to me saying, here's something you couldn't do. You couldn't say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Well, no, I couldn't, but you all know the reason I can't do that. because not everyone can. Only one person indeed has ever claimed in that way to be the Son of God and be in a position to forgive anyone and make good
but
on
my
it. So, I mean,
examples weren't that sort.
that is an emulation I couldn't make even if I wanted to. And by the way, I'm not a great believer in forgiveness.
And besides, Christopher, giving money to religious organizations is an innate human activity.
Sure is.
Jim,
No, I think my question still stands. So does the latter one.
why don't you quickly wrap this up and then we'll move to another topic.
I'll try quickly. Thank you. He had two assertions. One was that he can think of a great number of things which religious people do which are immoral and therefore castigate all religion. That's back to the point I tried to make earlier. To castigate all religion because of the activity of a radical Muslim suicide bomber is like castigating all of medicine because of the activities of a particular doctor, or to castigate all science because of eugenics.
No.
To put them all in the same category and to call them all religion, I would absolutely reject the decision made by a suicide bomber who is himself promoting some kind of radical Islam. That doesn't mean that his decision impinges on the morality of my religious behavior. As regards your first assertion, it seems that what we're looking for is something you and I would both agree are moral, which you therefore would not do and I therefore would do. If you and I both agree that that behavior is moral, then it is incumbent upon you to do that as a moral thing. The question has to do with the definition, not with the motivation, it seems to me.
A doctor conducting eugenic experiments without anesthetic on twins will not be able to point to the passage in the Hippocratic Oath that allows him to do it. He won't be able to say he's doing it in the name of medicine. It won't even be a perversion of medicine. A suicide bomber acting in the name of his prophet and his God can find authority all throughout the Quran for what he's doing, and always does. You couldn't have come up with a less persuasive analogy.
The Hippocratic Oath is not a sacred document. Who cares?
Nor is the Quran. Or do you think that it is?
The Quran is thought to be sacred by those following it. The Hippocratic Oath can be followed or not by...
To physicians, the code of medical ethics and what I describe as the Hippocratic ethos may not be considered sacred in the way that you mean the word, but it's considered to be pretty...
That's why modern doctors...
It's more than just a lot of bylaws.
That's why modern doctors don't do abortions.
We're going to move on here. I think we've all stated our positions fairly. I think we know where we stand on that one.
And the commandment to circumcise and mutilate the genitals of children is right in the Bible.
And now, Christopher, I don't know why I'm picking on you, but I'm going to ask you another question.
Because you can.
Yeah, I'm pretty much abusing my power here, but is there any evidence that you would consider to be sufficient in order for you to believe in the God of the Bible?
It sounds closed-minded to say no, doesn't it?
Well,
but actually, I don't think it's as closed-minded as all that. I mean, if I thought I saw a resurrection, say, I would first think I was under a delusion. I would first consult the likelihood that there was a hallucination affecting me. It's more, as David Hume puts it, it's more likely, if you see the laws of nature being suspended, that you are under a misapprehension than that the laws of nature, excuse me, it's possible I've been talking too much, have actually been suspended. If I heard voices in my head telling me that God wanted a word, I would not expect, when I shared this news with my friends, for them all to cluster around and say, tell me more. When you meet that person on the bus, as we've all done, what do? Do you edge away from them or towards them, say? I'd have to be persuaded that for the first, let's say the species is 100,000 years old, as I said before, that for the first 98,000 years of our existence, heaven just watched us die largely of our teeth or in childbirth, suffering in ignorance, terrified of volcanoes, meteors, horrible wars over territory, food, all of this, millions of people just dying in panic and unhappiness and ignorance and fear, and only 2,000 years ago decides to intervene. I don't think I could ever be brought to believe anything like that.
Okay. That's an honest answer.
And I couldn't be brought to believe that there's such a thing as vicarious redemption, which I think is an immoral doctrine. I could pay your debt, Douglas, if you got into trouble. I'd happily do it. Some people have even been willing to serve other people